Babies are cute and cuddly, and everyone oohs and ahs over them, unless they remain as a babe in their adulthood. Hi, this is Barry Phillips, a 10-minute Torah, day 2 of Bamidbar in the wilderness, and we are in Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 1, verse 17 and following today says, And Moshe and Aaron took these men who were called by name, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second new moon, and they declared their ancestry by clans, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of names from 20 years old and above, each one head by head. As Yahweh commanded Moshe, so he registered them, or counted, or gave a census of them in the wilderness of Sinai. It's interesting that it's in this wilderness setting then that they are numbered and counted, that they have to give an accounting of themselves, an identity of themselves. So as I said yesterday, it's in stressful times, testing times, less than ideal situations that the real us begins to come to the surface. And I've said this many times before, but you really don't know who you are until you have been stressed, stretched, and pushed. Even one who might be the proverbial couch potato put into a very heightened, stressful situation, Yah forbid, maybe even a life or death situation, they may surprise us and rise up in the moment and do things that we would never have imagined. And yet it could be someone who walks around boldly in their Superman cape all the time and everyone just oohs and ahs at them. They may panic and fall apart and, sit in a corner and just wish everything away. So we don't know who we are as a body. Individual is one thing, but as a body, who are we? How do we function together when it's hard? Israel here, they are not only being counted, they're not only being measured, but they are being set up as a fighting force. Now, when the counting is done, later on, we're going to learn that the first order of business is not to take a sword and shield and go into battle, but to understand your allotment in the land. That is, you will only receive that which you are capable of defending. You'll probably hear that again a little later on in the book. So Yah is measuring us for our purposes in the kingdom. We should not imagine that we are going to go through whatever exams and testing at this grade and fail them and then suddenly get promoted to a great position in the kingdom later on. No, our testing improving now, what we are willing to embrace and overcome now will determine what we will be doing then. Somehow we have it in our mind, I imagine, that Yeshua is just going to snap his fingers and zap us. And we're suddenly going to know everything, speak everything in Hebrew, have a perfect mindset, and we're just going to automatically know what to do. Barry, doesn't it say that there's going to be a change, that corruption is going to put on incorruption, mortality, immortality? We're going to be changed in the moment, twinkling of an eye. Yeah. Just because the body is different doesn't mean that the mind and the spirit is different. That's a question that we may have to wait until the great change takes place to figure out. Don't assume that the mind becomes perfect when the body becomes immortal. Mike Clayton will steal that one before I can preach on it, I'm sure. So Yah is expecting more from us than what we might be expecting from ourselves. Can I say that again? Yah is expecting more from us than we expect from ourselves. So we have not been redeemed, and Yeshua has not paid this extreme and exorbitant price for us to sit idly by and watch the world fall apart and become corrupted and depreciated around us. We cannot have the mindset that says, well, the land of my exile that I am in right now, ultimately, Zechariah says it will come against the nation of Israel, so why should I pray for this nation? Well, a couple reasons here. One is Yeshua would have us to pray for the nations because he's redeeming people from every tribe, tongue, people, and nation, according to the book of Revelation. There are those that are yet redeemable in our communities, our states, our countries. It's not over yet. We're not just to sit back and retreat until there's nowhere else to retreat to. And then as we have drawn our last line in the sand, pray, okay, Yeshua, you got to come and rescue us because we got nowhere else to flee to. No, we're to resist. We are to resist and fight back against the evil trends in this present world. We are to be overcomers. You can't overcome by running away. You have to be willing to face whatever the issues might be, personally, relationally, corporately, community, or even nationally. We have to be willing to face them. It doesn't mean that we are going to somehow legislate or elect righteousness. That's probably just not going to happen. It would be an extremely rare thing. But we have to be engaged in the process because there are lives that are at stake. For the sake of our children and grandchildren, who may have to endure longer than we imagine all of us have to for the return of Messiah. What if Yeshua doesn't come for another 10, 12, 20 years? If we say nothing, be nothing, do nothing until that point in time, what will the world be? And the second thing is, not only are their souls and lives at stake, who knows that the prayer agendas and the activities that we engage in maneuver things into such situations then that the nations are rightly aligned and the event calendars are fulfilled so that Yeshua is able to return or is going to return. He's waiting on us. He's expecting more from us than what we may be imagining. In the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 1, it says, chapter 3, verse 1, "And I, brothers, was not able to speak to you as to spiritual ones, but as to fleshly, as to babes in Messiah. Fed you with milk and not with solid food, for until now you were not able to receive it, and even now you're still not able, for you're still fleshly. For since there is envy and strife and divisions among you, are you not fleshly and walking according to man?" If I were to stand and address a congregation, large congregation, or a Hebrew roots gathering of some sort, and quote that verse and point my finger and say, "You're all babes. You're a bunch of babies, and you need to grow up," I would either be booed off the stage, people will get up and walk out, fold their arms and say, "Well, just go ahead and say what you're going to say, but I'm not listening." There may be a few that would actually realize that's true. Maybe we need to repent. Hebrews chapter number 5. Verse 12 says, "For indeed, although by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the first elements of the word of Elohim. And you have become such as need milk and not solid food. For everyone partaking of milk is inexperienced in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But solid food is for the mature, whose senses have been trained by practice to discern both good and evil." Where are we in the sense of things? It's time for all of us, myself included, to grow up, stop being a babe, do all that is assigned to us, And we'll see what happens after that. Until tomorrow, shalom, and we'll see you then.